Where is Peter? Peter, where are you? There he is.
I'm here. I'm gone. I'm here. I'm back. Whatever. Happy Friday, Miami. This is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami, a real estate podcast. I'm Peter Zalewski, condo consultant, expert witness, founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club, joined here by my partner, my co-host, the moderator, Daniel Hernandez from Compass Real Estate in Coconut Grove, where he does single-family houses as well as condos. Daniel, how'd you like that disappearing act?
I thought that was interesting. Speaking of disappearing, we disappeared last week. Now we're back. I got people calling me on Tuesday saying, "Hey, where was the show, guys? It was the 250th anniversary of our great nation. Give us a day off after 58 weeks." Can you believe it? This is week 59, Peter.
Wow, I am shocked. Well, I guess week 60 because we missed last week, right? So, but 59th episode, week 60.
I mean, even Colbert took a week off once. I think. I don't. Or is he even on the air anymore?
Oh,
Too soon.
don't mention Colbert. We don't want the guy from the FCC nosing around.
Well, anyway, folks, if you're just joining us for the first time today, this is season 2. If you want season 1, you got to go back. You got to go back in the archives. Go on YouTube. Go on Substack. It's all there. This is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami. And so in the bottom left of your screen, you're going to see what we call the rundown. And Peter and I throw a few stories back and forth across the week. And this week, we have a great show for you. At the end of each topic, we're either going to buy because we agree, we sell because we disagree, or we hold because we don't know. We don't have enough information. We need to have more transparency. So if you have anything that you do want us to talk about, you got our contacts. You let us know. But I want to jump right into it with you, Peter. First topic is the worst time for the good time. So, Peter, you ever been to the Good Time Hotel?
I have not. I've read about it, but I've never actually gone in there.
So the Good Time Hotel is over on, or was over on Miami Beach, right there on Washington. And I'm going to pull it up for the gang so everybody can see. So there it is. It's a good spot, a few blocks off from Loomis Park. And it caught a lot of fanfare when it opened, I think back in 2021, 2022. I think it was the summer of 2021 because our own Mr. David Grutman and Pharrell Williams, the musician, singer, they were like the celebrity backers for this hotel. And this was at a time when, as Peter likes to put it, DeSantis said you could come down here and, as you would say,
You didn't have to wear a mask. You could work from home, and Miami Beach permitted you to twerk on police cars on Ocean Drive.
wow. Well, then the country opened back up. The Good Time Hotel wasn't the only place for a good time, and they didn't do so great. So what's happened in a recent chapter of this is the CIM Group, the lender behind this. They foreclosed on a $200-ish million loan, and they took it to auction. CIM, the only bidder on this, got it for a cool $100. So a little bit more than the Trump Library Foundation got that library site for, but $100 still nonetheless. I think the math, what is that, about $1 in stamp tax and dock stamps?
Absolutely, but they still got the debt they had never got paid.
No, they didn't. And I want to bring this up today because this is a theme that I'm seeing on Miami Beach. I pulled some of the other troubled hotels. You got who have we got here? We got
W.
the W. It's going to be a Waldorf now. They're closing that next month. That's Waldorf is taking it over. The 660 Resort, 82 waterfront condo hotel on 6060 Indian Creek Drive. The Z Ocean Hotel, the Gabriel South Beach, the Raleigh, which is being redeveloped. Michael Schvo, broker out of New York turned developer, couldn't make it happen. And so Nala Capital took that off his hands. The Fairwind Hotel at 1000 Collins and the DeVille, which is very contentious right now. The DeVille is just a plot of sand up there on 67th and Collins. We've talked about that in a past show, but these are all hotels that have gone defunct. And so this Good Times Hotel is just the latest in this chapter of, well, troubling times on Miami Beach. You remember when the spring break madness happened and then the pendulum kind of swung the other way, Peter, and Miami Beach said, no, we don't want to have you here. So they didn't come. And this is what happens. So there's got to be a happy medium here on Miami Beach, no?
Might be a happy medium, but it's not good times, especially if you were
It's not
participating in that
good
particular poll.
times. No,
Wow,
no.
talk about a change of fortunes. I mean, 2021, we were rocking and rolling. We were go-go. This was the place to be. And then all of a sudden the world opened up and people found out that there were alternatives and we're not as hot as we once were, to the point where the population's coming down. Daniel, I thought 1,000 people are moving to Florida. I thought the trees grow to the moon. How
To the
can this
moon.
be? Say it ain't so.
Something else I wanted to point out when I was reading about the hotels that are closing. Coastal Florida hotels routinely pay up to 100% higher premiums than comparable inland properties. So there's not a lot of room for error here. If you don't hit your RevPAR, which is revenue per available room, if you don't hit those projections, you got the margins of a grocery store in some of these properties.
And they're not selling gas. At least with gasoline, with the fuel cost because of the Iranian war, maybe they could be padding it. They don't even have that. And back in the day, Daniel, they used to have a little section, so I heard. They'd have these magazines up and they would cover it and they'd make a heck of a premium on that. They can't even do that anymore because the internet stole it from them. How are you making your cash in the hotels? And nobody in Miami Beach is drinking anymore. This is what do they call it? A blue zone where you live to be 400. And as a result, you don't drink, you don't eat. It's all you do is exercise. Not a good time to be a hotelier.
What's that? I just saw this in the newspaper. What's that? The Mac Deuce. What's that? What's that old dive down there by Joe's?
Oh, you're talking about Ted's Hideaway. Dude, the
Ted's.
Deuce is going to be a little bit farther north. Ted's Hideaway, yeah, about second or so
The
between
Deuce is
Ocean
celebrating
and
its a
Columbine.
big anniversary. They're doing this big block party for their I don't know, like 100-year anniversary or something like that.
Yeah, it's a heck of a place. Still an all cash establishment. Do not bring a debit card. Forget Apple Pay. You
They can
better
still
have
get away with
cash.
that.
They still get away with it. You know who gave it up a few years back is Casola's Pizza. They used to be all cash, but
Duffy's, you remember
no, no.
Duffy's?
Duffy's was all cash. Yeah, yeah. I guess the IRS was knocking on some people's doors, but somehow Old Man Deuce, or Old Man Mac, who's long passed. By the way, Anthony Bourdain, the restaurateur, the chef, the
He's
celebrity travel.
he's a travel guy.
Yeah. 10 years ago he passed, but one of his local haunts when he came to Miami was always the Deuce. You go in there, tie one on, and be smoking cigarettes. You can still smoke cigarettes in the Deuce, I will tell you. I've heard.
Supposedly, supposedly.
Supposedly. Yeah, I mean, listen, South Beach and Miami Beach and basically South Florida, we got to rediscover who we are. We got this influx of people who came in here. They all had sort of different, I don't know, objectives. Things sort of changed. You know, if you remember too, going back to 2021, we had the Club 11 thing was really going off. It was hot. You had Club Space. You had all these different things. Now it seems like people are sort of shifting their focus, shifting their energy, shifting their, I don't know, regiment and Miami Beach going, blue zone, like parts
Oh,
of
yeah, the
Greece,
blue
parts
zone. I
of
want to live
Japan.
forever. And you can't live forever if you're drinking yourself into a hole, right? Or maybe you can. I don't know.
Or so they say. I got some uncles. They live very long, and they were sucking down Pall Malls, and they were drinking what is it? No, seven and sevens, and they lived to be quite long, and they weren't
So
sucking
maybe
down
you can
any
drink and
ginger.
you can smoke and drink. You just can't be eating Cheetos every day.
That's probably it. That's
It's
probably
the
it. Yeah,
ultra
and definitely
processed
don't want to get.
foods.
Yeah, all the stuff that RFK Jr. as the health secretary was able to eliminate. So maybe that was the cause.
So, like, I don't understand how you can be selling units at the Raleigh and at the Ritz on South Beach that they're launching for, you know, three, four, $5,000 a square foot, and a hotel like this isn't doing well. So it was just an operational quandary.
You know what? I think it's kind of like a restaurant. What do they say with a restaurant? If you can basically make it hot in the first 6 months and unload it or bring in some other equity to sort of take your money off the table, you're probably going to do well. But the longer you stick around, the less likelihood is that you're going to be able to maintain it. Simply because I mean this is a fickle city. Vanity is the big thing. Shiny objects are the big thing. And if the Good Times Hotel is no longer the most popular thing, all of a sudden it goes by the wayside. Take South Beach to begin with. South Beach was the place to be. Then all of a sudden, downtown Miami, greater downtown Miami popped up. Wynwood popped up. And it all kind of shifted. The question is, where does it go now? Wynwood is sort of like what the Yogi Berra quote is: nobody goes there anymore because it's too damn popular. So you got to kind of wonder where the next place is. Is it Little River? Is it Fort Lauderdale? Is it Little Havana? It could be anywhere. And basically, you got to hit it when it's hot, and you got to try to unload before the music stops and let somebody else think that they are smarter than you. Leave some equity on the table, pull the ripcord, and get the heck out is what I would say. And obviously, these two gentlemen, they couldn't read the tea leaves.
Well, from what I was able to read, that Pharrell and Grutman, they sort of left operations back in 2024. I guess they saw the writing on the wall. They got out of Dodge, and then the operators were kind of shit out of luck because without these two guys, they're just another vanilla hotel on the beach.
However, the key to success in South Beach, and it's been proven over and over and over, and I'll give you the perfect example. The Flamingo, the old Flamingo, two crappy condo buildings or rental buildings called the Morton Towers. They go ahead, they rename it, they put a tower in the middle, right there off of, what
West
road is that
Ave.
going to be? It's not West Ave. But
Yeah,
I
it's
think
West
there's
Ave.
one, is it actually West or is it one
Yeah,
road
yeah, they're on
farther
West.
west?
They're on West.
All right, they're on West. So yeah, there what they did is they had these two crappy old buildings. They put a rental up in the middle. They convert the south building, and when you get off the elevator and it's all musty, they got like a centralized chiller, and it's moldy. It smells like you're going to see your grandmother who's maybe in some kind of healthcare facility. But nobody wanted to be there. But you know what they figured out? The Sunday pool party. They gave discounts to strippers. Entertainers. They
Content
gave discounts.
creators.
Content creators, DJs, bartenders were all started living there. All of a sudden, everybody else wanted to be there, so they all came. The Sunday pool party, you would party, you go to Club Space. When you came rolling out, the sun was up. All you wanted to go to the pool party, maybe you did something to give yourself a little bit of energy, and you rode out Sunday. And as a result, the quality there versus the price was just completely out of whack. So the key is, if you can create a shiny object, you are going to be able to bank. And obviously, the boys at the Good Times, they didn't get it figured out. Maybe they got too old. Maybe they're out of touch. Maybe they took their eye off the ball. But at the end of the day, these are short-term hits. You got to make it while you can, pull the ripcord, and get the heck out and dump it on somebody else.
The worst time for the good time. Buy, sell, hold, Pete.
I would be worst time for the good time. I guess I would be a buy. But you know who's going to make the money is the person buying it downstream. If they can get a nice 40-50% discount, they'll probably be okay.
I mean, why not just convert it to multifamily? Is there I mean, I don't know enough about the South Beach multifamily market, but they got these little and they're small. I don't know if they're big enough for like workforce housing units, but there's got to be some sort of way to retrofit this thing to make some sort of cap rate on it.
But I guess it has to do with are you bullish or bearish on South Beach? If you're bullish on South Beach, yes, it would make a heck of a lot of sense to go ahead and do that. But if you're sort of in between and you're indecisive, do you really want to sort of take that chance? Remember, first settler gets the arrow, second settler gets the land. That's I'm not saying it's politically correct, but that is a saying. It's something to sort of keep in mind. Catch a falling knife, things like that. We just don't. We don't know where the bottom is. We don't know where people are traveling to. We don't know if they're going to travel. We don't know what affordability is. We don't know what's going on in Washington come midterm elections in November, which are probably going to be very contentious. We don't know what's going on with interest rates. President Trump wanted old man Powell, Jerome Powell, out, and he's gone. It brings in his new boy. He's been 2 months. They're supposed to cut rates. They're talking about raising rates because inflation, 4% and humming, heading north. It's got to be south of 2 in order to cut rates. So, you just can't anticipate it. But affordability. If you're charging $25 for a drink, you're not going to sell too many drinks in this town, especially when it only costs $35 for a burger with fries, with tax and tip.
Where can you get it? Where can you get a burger these days for like $15? A good burger.
My go-to is always going to be Flanagan's, but you got to get the lunch special.
What time's that at? Like 3:30?
I think they extended it to 4.
Oh,
trying to get the
wow.
early bird crowd in there too. Yep, the Boca crowd, Boca Raton crowd.
You're a buy, I'm a buy. Miami will become a chopper town, and not chopper like brum brum brum. Chopper like this guy. Get to the chopper. So like that. This is on the heels of the news that our boy Ken Billions, that's Ken Griffin for all you joining us for the first time, Ken Billions bought 3.7 acres over on Terminal Island from George Perez's related group a few years back for $77 million. And you're like, oh, some waterfront, right? Great, waterfront, $77 million, chump change to a man like Mr. Billions. But this lot right here is right across from Fisher Island and right on the other side from Star Island where Kenny Boy has some property. The problem with his property over on Star Island, and I'm going to show it to you folks, is you can't put a super yacht there. I mean, God forbid you have this property and you can't put a 300-foot yacht in your backyard because the bay floor is very shallow. And we're going to talk about that in another segment in a little bit. So
yeah, but you know whose fault that is, right? You know whose fault that is.
Tell us.
Old man Fisher, Carl Fisher, the gearhead, the car fanatic, who was involved with creating the Indianapolis 500, the guy who built out most of Miami Beach, marketed the hell out of it, and built most and created most of those islands in and around there. Old man Fisher, what the hell were you thinking when you guys were dredging up the bay and steamrolling all of the
because nobody had 300-foot yachts. A big yacht was like 70 feet back then, and they didn't draft 25 feet.
Ken Billions, why don't you just go ahead and dredge it? Pull a Sylvester Stallone, build whatever the hell you want, and pay the fee. How much is the county going to hit you for?
No, well, I mean, he just bought this for $77 million.
You don't have to worry about the Department of Environmental
Well, he should take a page out of Dave Martin's book. We'll get there in a minute. So this, for anybody who doesn't know, this was owned by Related, and this little terminal island here, it's called Terminal Island because it's the ferry terminal for, you can see a little ferry there. And that ferry, they run about every 15 minutes, and that exists exclusively to shuttle folks back and forth to Fisher Island. We've talked about a lot about Fisher Island in past shows because of these eyesores right here. Those are the fuel terminals that power Dodge Island, which is Port Miami, the cruise ships, the cargo ships, all the ships, because we don't have anywhere else to put them. So Ken has his property over here on Star Island. He buys this from a related group to park his yachts. But Peter, traffic here is just getting atrocious. I don't know. I know you don't drive, but Ken's got his headquarters, the Citadel headquarters he's putting over in Brickell. He's got property down in Gables Estates, over there in Vizcaya, here in Star Island. He can't drive, so he's got to put a chopper. And this is another page in the story of we want to put helipads all in and around Miami. And there's a few projects, condo projects that we cover that already have these. Most notably, 1000 Museum, the Anantara. We've talked about that in past shows. Villa Miami, which is a JV between David Martin and the same folks who built the two aforementioned buildings. Aston Martin. We don't know if it's going to be called Aston Martin in a few years, but that's another story. And then the Club 11 Residences Beyond, which is the second tower of 3 in Club 11's condo, what should we call it, adventure. And so all of these buildings
cabaret. It is a cabaret. Do not call it a strip joint.
Well, no, these are condos now. So it's a condo. Don't call it a cabaret. We've moved even past that. So we are these helipads just a page in the marketing deck? Because I drive the corridor quite a bit where all these condos are. I have not once seen a helicopter land on any of these buildings.
Last time I saw a helicopter land anywhere in and around greater downtown Miami that was carrying some sort of important passenger, it was Jose Padilla, the guy who tried to blow up a dirty bomb after September 11th. They brought him in. 2 Chinook helicopters came into the federal prison right over there across from Miami-Dade County's Wolfson campus. You never see helicopters in and around unless maybe the Coast Guard or somebody is doing tests or they're trying to save somebody. You don't see it. This is all just marketing hype. They think we're going to be Sao Paulo. They think we're going to be New York City. Message for you. It's not happening. It hasn't happened. It's probably unlikely to happen anytime soon.
So I was curious about Ken Billions' yacht, so I looked it up. It's quite nice. It's 307 feet long. You know what? We got the screens up. Let me just pull it up for the gang. It's public record. It's not like I'm doing any crazy hacking stuff over here. Defy Yacht Ken Griffin. That's what it looks like. I know you really want him to take us out to lunch to the market over there on Coral Way, but I'd take lunch on the boat.
It'd be kind of a pain in the ass though, especially if you got to go from Terminal Isle to Fisher Island to
No, no,
there to
he'd pick
there.
us up in the chopper. He'd take us there.
Yeah, but listen, I think Ken Billions. What are you thinking? Why are you trying to put a helipad here? Just buy a bigger yacht. Put a bigger yacht, and you can land on the back of the damn thing. Why the hell do you need to build a helipad in order to get
Because
on
he's
your
got to
boat? Just
get
land
to
on
the
your boat.
yacht.
Yeah, just I mean, why don't you hit up Mickey Arison, old man Arison? I'm sure he's got some cruise ships. He's getting ready to send over to Pakistan so they can rip them apart and recycle them, dump them off it. They move to the next generation of cruise ships. That's all he's got to do. Buy a cruise ship. You land there, you do whatever the heck you want.
Was there when I was looking at this? Is there any like friction about this? Do people even care? They're just like, it's Ken Billions. He's got the money. Just let him do what he wants. Has there been pushback about on these helipads, or does the larger community just recognize these as kind of marketing gimmicks?
Well, I think the larger community recognizes as marketing gimmicks, but just a little bit of background about the aeronautical historical significance of this particular area. Not this particular site, but this area. 1920 or so, they open up the causeway. Causeway is called Miami Dade County Causeway when it goes ahead and opens. They set it up, and what you find there is right over there where Watson Island is, Daniel. I don't know if you could go a little bit farther west and then kind of hook north, right where the
Of
causeway sort of turns before you do the flyover, right by the tunnel. Yep, 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 yep. Zoom in there a little bit. Yep, yep. There we go. So
I think they still have a
this
plane
area,
parked out here.
yeah. Well, this first and foremost is kind of where the Prince Valdemar went down 100 years ago on January the 10th of
It was right here,
1926.
yeah, in the
Yep,
turning
and
basin.
basically, yep, and triggered the what began as a sell-off of the Great Florida land boom of the 1920s. Fast forward, there was a kid who's came with his mother. His mother drowned. They were coming from Cuba. He ended up coming in. His name was Elian Gonzalez. The family, the Uncle Lazaro. They took basically they were his custodian. He was guardian. Feds under Janet Reno, who's a South Floridian, goes in there. They kick in his door in Little Havana, right there off of Flagler, right by La Camanadas, right over there, behind a building called I think called Alta. And when once the feds grab him, they shuttle him over to that little island. There was a helipad there, Daniel. That was a helipad. That's where
No,
the
I think
feds put
it's
Elian
still
Gonzalez.
privately run now. It's called the
Is it still
Skyport or the
operating?
yeah, I think so. I see them, but I think that's where like the tourist helicopters come out. So you can go off the side and hang off the side, maybe not fall over, and take pictures of our beautiful skyline.
I think you probably remember before they did everything they're doing there, and now Nitin Manwani's doing whatever the hell he's doing on that particular site. They also had the there was a fish market. You could buy fish there. They would go out. They go on they would offer fishing trips, stuff like that. And in addition, this is where old man Chalk, Poppy Chalk, he used to run Chalk Airlines, which was the seaplane. It was right over there immediately to the east of where the helipad was. So the the aviation aspect of what goes on this island is in this particular area. I find it very curious. And it looks like Ken Billions is probably going to be the next one who adds to the historical aspect of what is government cut, and ultimately, it's a place for aviation. Believe it
I
or not.
wonder. I wonder if this sets a precedent because Ken Billions isn't the only guy with a pretty large swath of land on their property on one of these islands. If Miami Beach allows this to happen, what's stopping the Frost families from building a helipad on their corner of Star Island or any of these folks over there in Indian Creek? So
Hey,
maybe
isn't
this
the
is like a
county?
domino.
Yeah, but the county's hard up for cash. Why don't they just
Oh,
carve
they
out a
are
space?
hard up for cash. We know that.
I mean, you got boat launches everywhere. Why doesn't the county set up a helipad? Set up a public helipad. Put it over there. I'll tell you what, do eminent domain with those fuel terminals over there on Fisher Island. Take a little bit extra and make it so you can land a helicopter there for Ken Billions and everybody else in Fisher Island to go check it out. To me, it seems like it is a sure thing. You got boat launches. Why don't you have a helipad as well? We need to
Why
cater
doesn't
to all the
related
billionaires
trade
coming.
back the terminals to Ken Billions. We'll do a little shuffle. So Ken Billions gets the terminals. He can do whatever the hell he wants there. They give him a nice little membership to Fisher Island, and then you put the fuel terminals where the terminal island Ken Griffin site is. I'm just
I
trying to
think
come
it
up with
makes sense.
solutions here.
Yeah, but Mr. Billions, if you do decide that, I would put in the contract that they need to rename Fisher Island. Call it Fisher Island, presented by Ken Billions, or powered by Ken Billions.
Powered by Ken Billions. I like that. I like that. Will Miami become a chopper town, Pete? Buy, sell, hold.
I'm a pound a table sell.
I'm a sell. I think it's hoopla. I think it's as Carl Fisher would put, ballyhoo.
Ballyhoo.
Well, since we're talking about rich people doing rich people things, Marina Mania. So, if you've been watching the news or been listening to this show for even the last few months, you probably have heard us talk about the Seaquarium. Seaquarium, it's kind of like an aquarium, but of the sea, is right over here on Virginia Key. And it defunct. I think the Dolphin Company was the company that was running it. They went BK. I know, but I think they actually did. And Dave Martin took out the lease from the city at a cool 20-something million dollars. Not bad for a lease that's going to run out sometime in the next century. And what is he going to do with it? Well, they filed paperwork, Peter, to build a marina, a big marina. A marina for, and I just told you before the show, and I'm going to bring up the figures again one more time for the gang. So we're going to get 325 boats and dry storage for another 500, 90 slips for yachts over 80 feet. Those are big boats. That's what I think we would call a super yacht. And Ken Billions isn't going to put his boat in a sleazy public marina. He's going to put it in Terminal Island. And why does this matter? Because if you zoom out over here, the bay, where's my mouse here? The bay, you see that hue of blue? That hue of blue is so light because the light reflects off of the sand. The sun goes down and it comes back off the sand, and that hue of blue represents very shallow water. And see, as we go out into the deep blue sea, it's deep blue water. Big boats and shallow water do not mix because they draft. A draft is the amount of displacement that a boat requires to safely go through a body of water. And they're going to have to dredge. I mean, just physically, it's impossible to build a super yacht marina here without doing some sort of dredging. So DERM is, well, the regulatory body here in the state of Florida. What is it? Department of Environmental Regulation Management? Is that what it is, Peter?
I think resource. Yep.
Resource management. And then you got the NIMBYs, because the residents in Key Biscayne are saying, hey, we were used to nobody going to this aquarium. What happens if we got mountains of cars? Then this might actually turn into a little Sao Paulo. We might actually need those choppers. So the super yacht marina or mega yacht marina and aquarium park, whatever he's going to market it as, that's what is being proposed to go here.
Yeah, I admire David Martin for his big picture thinking. I think he might be looking backwards, though. Personally, I'm not sure that we're in the same era that of the 2021, 2022, 2023. I know we have all the billionaires coming here. I know it's all kind of going that way, but I'm also looking at the economic indicators. I know, the stock markets are humming, but I'm just wondering if he's looking back over his shoulder rather than in front of him going forward with a project like this. Wouldn't it make more sense to do something that's a little bit more community oriented or something for a little bit more for the mainstream? How much super ultra luxury this, luxury that can you ultimately build? When do you kind of tap out? Now, some people are going to say, yeah, but there's never enough space for a marina. There's never space for this, space for that. To me, it just seems like he's building for 2021, 2022, 2023, rather than building for 2027, 28, 29, based on what we're seeing. And, listen, there's a lot of talk out there. Who knows how the election's going to go in November? A lot of talk about pitchforks and torches, and is it going to hold? Is all of this economic disparity, this K economy, where those at the top are just enjoying life and those at the bottom basically are sleeping on the street. So I wish Mr. Martin luck with this, but I think he's looking in the wrong direction personally. You're taking to see aquarium, a place which, it wasn't necessarily great with PETA. You're gonna go ahead and you're gonna build something for the ultra wealthy at a time when, I think that there's growing animosity out there. And maybe take a page out of Peter Thiel, another one of our local residents. He just bought
Pedro.
some big spread. Yeah, bought a big spread in Argentina in case he's got to hightail it and get the hell out of town sooner rather than later. So I'm just saying, Mr. Murder getting approved, but JV with somebody, share the risk, diversify the risk, because if you're going all in on these billionaires, and if this market craps out and they do come with pitchforks and torches, you're going to be on the wrong side of the trade.
So this is one of three big projects. I mean, David Martin is involved. I feel like he's involved in everything going on in town in terms of development. That's at least what it seems like. But
Yep.
in terms of Virginia Key and Key Biscayne, if you remember, he took down a $200 million beachfront site in Key Biscayne. I'll run over here and show it to everybody. And then alongside Raquel Regalado, he presented, what was it called? The underpass, the over deck, the sea deck. Basically, they want to renovate the Rickenbacker from the big bridge all the way to Bearcut Bridge here to the tune of something like $400 million. I think it was going to wind up costing. So that's interesting play geographically. No, he's got this aquarium, that infrastructure project, and then I'm going to show everybody this site here, which is right here, squeezed in between Key Colony and the newest condominium of Key Biscayne, Oceana. When did that open? 2014, 2015.
Yeah. The same developer did the one in Bell Harbor,
Yeah,
Oceana.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. It would have been about 10 years ago or so, maybe 12 years ago or so. An
Th-
Argentinian developer. Yep.
so this is a big bet on Key Biscayne for David Martin, and I think that. Look, I think you were the one who brought it up. What better way to market to billionaires than having the email addresses for the people who are keeping their boats in your marina? It costs anywhere
It, it
from, depending on where you are, it can cost $25, $35, $55 a foot. That's how these marinas charge, by the way. So if you have a 200-foot yacht at let's say it's going to be a really nice marina. Look, 200-foot yacht at $60 a foot, that's $12,000 a month just to keep the thing parked there.
yep,
Times
yep.
what,
Plus,
80 plus of these. So then you got $1 million a month in revenue just for the big boats.
don't forget the $10 bags of ice.
I think he might give you free ice.
Listen, I want to throw something out there though. I think what David Martin doing is great, but what I will tell you is David Martin has not faced a downturn. The reason David Martin's in control of Terra is that his father, Pedro, who was running Terra, they ran into a problem called the Great Recession. It didn't end up very well, and as a result of that, gave David an opportunity. David has not been stress tested. He's gone forward. He's been rocking and rolling. He hit it right. He just kept hitting it right. But if there's one thing you learn from the developers of the great Florida land boom of the 1920s, it was the ones who kept doubling down. George Merrick, Coral Gables, Addison Meisner, Boca Raton, and Old Man Fisher on Miami Beach. At the end of the day, they kept doubling down and pushing it, and they pushed it too far. So, David, if you're going ahead and doing it, I would just tell you diversify, because you have not been stress tested. You might have been stress tested in terms of getting the deals done. You haven't been stress tested on the financial parts when the market starts to unravel. So just the trees do not grow to the moon, despite what all your salespeople are telling people when they walk in there to buy, sign their name on the dotted line.
What's so Peter? Is this the time for you to start promoting your new book, Bubble in the Sun 2?
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, play it out. Terra, and what David's run. I mean, he's put it together. He's been rocking and rolling. I mean, kudos to him. Other than a few missteps like trying to take down the Herald site or Genting site, which he wasn't able to get over the finish line. But other than that, he's really done quite a bit. But again, when was he tested? When was he challenged? I
I
mean,
don't know.
Terra basically
All
got,
I see
yeah,
is him building a business and growing. And you're right. We didn't see the downturn that we were supposed to see at the end of 2019 because COVID happened, and it's kind of been growing to the moon since then, despite that being physically impossible, despite
and,
all odds.
and it's been going. And but the thing is, they have to keep finding the next buyer. So now it's the Zuckerbergs of the world, old man Zuckerberg, and the Larry Pages of the world. So they're finding them. But how many more are there? How many more are going to keep coming? And I know, South Florida, blah 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 blah. But that being said, things do go down. They don't always go up. And again, I point to old man Fisher, old man Merrick, and old man um, Meisner.
So I just found it here because I was curious about boat registrations. Because
Yep.
anecdotally, I've heard through folks that I know who have boats that it's difficult to find somewhere to put your boat. If you have a boat of a certain size, the list for some of these marinas, you could be on a wait list for 3, 4, 5 years. So Florida had 1.2 million registered boats in 2024, last time that this data was available. That's 10% of the U.S. total and a 27% year over year increase per NMMA's 2024 boat registrations report. Uh, Florida, Cambillions. The yacht marina by the old Chalks terminal, by the way,
Yep. Yep.
has
Yep.
5,000 linear feet of slips. I guess that's how they measure your capacity in a marina for vessels up to 550 feet. That's basically a cruise ship from 50 years ago. Now the cruise ships are
Yep.
like 2,000 feet long, right?
Yeah. Pretty much.
All right.
Yeah.
Marina
Well,
Mania. Oh, tell me, go.
Well, I was going to say, I just pulled it up because one way, like in the publishing world, you always knew when the market was hot because you would get magazines. A bunch of magazines used to pop up, and anybody who doesn't know what a magazine is, they used to print these things out. They'd hand them out. There'd be like
I
100
have
pages,
one.
and you would turn through it. On the right was an ad, and on the left was probably the person who paid for that ad, and then whatever the magazine is, they wrote something about them, and developers loved it. They would do it. So whenever the money was out there, all these magazines would pop up, and then when the magazines went tits up, like they say in Tampa, you knew the economy was over. One way to track the fat cats is to look at yacht sales. So I just took a look at yacht sales, and right now,
Yeah.
and this is only 40 to 70 foot vessels. This isn't the Ken Billions end. It's a buyer's market. They can't get rid of these damn yachts 40 to 70 feet. If you you go online, there are some studies talking about the latest trends. So, watch the little indicators. If you want to know what was going on in the media, you follow the magazines, or developers, you'd follow the magazines. And if you want to know what's going on with the wealthy people, you got to take a look. Well, not the ultra wealthy. You got to take a look at yacht sales. And according to, let me see if I can give you a source on this. Galati yacht sales. No, that's not the one. That's a mega yacht. Bear with me 1 second. We're doing this on the fly. Yacht Sales International says that the 2026 yacht market has shifted to a buyer's market. Sound familiar? With stabilizing inventory, softening prices for brokerage vessels, and strong demand in the 40 to 70 foot category. Buyers prioritize hybrid propulsion, blah, 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 blah. Buyer's market for a yacht, and you're building a marina. Maybe it's going to take a little while to get it through. Maybe, you'll be right on the other side. But the trees don't grow to the moon, even in sunny Miami.
Nice little stat on that deal, by the way, for all you viewers out there. 95% to the developer. County might own Virginia Key, but under the proposed lease, David Martin keeps 95% of split profits. Not split profits, slip profits. Not a bad deal. Good work if you can get it.
Yeah, you can't argue with that. Remember, everybody, when the economy's humming or people got access to cash, it's all great. But once there's a pullback, people start to cut back. They don't get the landscaping as often. They maybe cut back on the dinners. They cut back on this. What's something you can cut back pretty easily? A yacht. Some of these disposable items. So I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't want to be Chicken Little, but I am just
Yeah, you do. You
suggesting.
love being Chicken Little.
No, but it's right there in front of me. I look at this stuff and I'm just like, what are these people smoking? It's like, it's almost like, well, I will admit I do watch like to watch the train wrecks, as they say. Like when little Coco got taken out up in North Miami, these delivery vehicles got caught on the tracks and a bright line took out Coco. That's
I
that's
saw
one of
it.
the names.
Yeah,
So
the
one of
little
these little
robot.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I actually, I felt bad for Coco, but it was pretty cool to watch. That's what I see with this type of stuff. I see everybody going on these ultra luxury. They're coming out with these latest and greatest projects. And the question is, are they getting ahead of their skis? And have they been stress tested? And I would venture to guess Terra has not been stress tested, at least in my book. Last time they were was the Great Recession, and that was run by his old man, David's old man, Pedro. And now David's got it. And, he's humming. He's hitting it right. He's got the right connections. He's done some successful projects. But it only takes one. And then all of a sudden, and I'm not making a reference to Mr. Stern, Michael Stern. That's no reference whatsoever. Do not make that connection.
Marina Mania. Buy so old.
Pound the table, sell.
I'm a buy. I see. I
This is
see.
what makes a market.
I see more people with the boats. It's just there's demand for it. Even if you see these guys driving with their trailers from Hialeah, no pot to piss in, but they got the 200,000-foot boat on a 108-month payment plan at 15-20%, and they're going to the marina. Is it financially responsible? Absolutely not. It doesn't keep that machine from stopping though. Why else do you live in Miami if not to be on the water? You might as well live in Kansas. Save yourself on some rent.
Yeah, but you get a friend who's got a boat, or you join one of these clubs where you get to use.
Haven't
so
you
many
heard
hours
we're
month.
living in an isolation crisis? Nobody has friends anymore. It's just you and me, pal.
There's always Tinder, Grinder, or whatever the heck you're into. Remember,
Grinder.
everybody.
That's for people who like to work really hard, right?
Yes, correct.
Ah.
That's a PSA.
Miami-Dade's public transit priorities. Peter, you're a big advocate for public transit down here, aren't you?
I voted for the half penny sales tax when our the nation's prettiest mayor, best looking mayor, according to People magazine at the time, guy called Alex Penales, he pushed it. I voted for it. I love what they've accomplished, but they haven't even gotten close to what they promised us 23 years ago, 24 years ago when we voted.
Yeah, it's before I had a driver's license, Peter. That what they did complete though is the rapid bus transit corridor that just came online this past year. But that's well, 12% of the way there, 15% of the way there, because they promised 6 corridors. And I'm going to read them out for the gang. And the 6 corridors, by the way, they were supposed to be funded by the half penny sales tax. So we get an extra 0.5 lumped on your sales tax for the last quarter century or so, last 20 years. And that was supposed to build the Northeast corridor going up to Aventura, the beach corridor going to Miami Beach, the East-West corridor, which no, they did complete that, right? But it was supposed to go all the way out to FIU. It wasn't supposed to just stop at Miami International Airport. It was supposed to keep on going. It hasn't done that. The Kendall corridor, nope. And now they did approve in February the North corridor, which is supposed to go to the county line. Supposedly will be done by 2032. The problem,
On
Peter...
27th Avenue, right? Going straight up 27th Avenue. They had put it in place. They built it so you could go straight up to Dolphin Hard Rock Stadium.
I knew you were going to ask me about this, so I got a map because I was forward thinking, Pete. So here we go. It's supposed to go all the way up to the stadium, to Miami Gardens, right?
But
and
right on 27th, Unity Boulevard, right?
And this is supposed to be awesome. The problem is, per Danielle Levine Cava's memo that she put out, is that there's no money. There's no money. There's no money. $7.6 billion short, or a cool 300 and something, almost $400 million a year for the next 20 years. They don't have the cash. They said, well, my question is, where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the half penny tax? What'd you guys spend it on?
I'll tell you what they spent it on.
This is the dumbest SMART program I've ever heard. That's what they called it, for God's sake. The SMART program. What's so freaking smart about it? They haven't built anything.
Well, if you remember when they first put in the half penny sales tax, they promised us they were going to build all this infrastructure. They're going to bring Metrorail. First thing they did was shore up the pension for the pensions
Oh,
for
I
all of the
bet they
employees, and
did.
then they improved the buses. They improved all these
You
buses, and
mean
eventually
the
they got
electric
yeah,
buses that are sitting in a lot somewhere because nobody can service them?
they didn't have electric buses at the time, but yeah, they did the buses, and then eventually they built that connection, the Orange Line, which takes you to Miami International Airport, and then ultimately they put the bus lanes in, going all the way down towards Homestead area. But no, they haven't done anything really with it. It's been disappointing. Most of the time, the escalators are not working, although they are working right now in all the Metro Rail stations that I take. No, it's been a disaster. It hasn't delivered what we were promised, but yet I still think people want something that would give them an alternative to being stuck in a car, stuck on the road. I'm a testament to you can live in this town without a car. Been car free since 2013. The judge did not order it. I did it voluntarily, and I wasn't even threatened. So just to clear that up, because some of you I know out there, yammering on about that, but
Yapping.
but no, yapping, yammering on,
Yapping,
all of that
yapping,
stuff.
yapping.
No, you can make a go of it in this town without a car, because Uber was a great equalizer. That was the last mile, and ultimately Uber and car sharing services are the ones that kind of made it happen. But this has been a dramatic disappointment. There was when Miami was first announced as one of the host cities for the World Cup, which by the way is going to be concluding the next 2 weeks in terms of Miami hosting. Mayor Cava talked about having that Metro Rail go all the way up, because it's already been approved, all the way up to Hard Rock Stadium, right up 27th Avenue. They never got it over the finish line, unfortunately. But you bring that into the mix, I think it gets very, very, very interesting, and it opens up that entire corridor for new development, whether it be Miami Gardens, or it be any of the other communities located in between there and the county line. A lot of development potential and opportunity up there, especially you bring in the Metro Rail, I would say.
And but what is the consequence of them not doing this? Are we just going to
Well,
vote him
I
out? I mean, is this a priority for the constituency? It seems like
I
it
don't think
because
it is.
I don't.
Well, I mean, listen. Let's be honest about what really goes on there. And if you don't know what it is, just Google it. Miami Beach for the longest time, Bay Link, Bay Walk, all these Bay connections. Miami Beach doesn't want it. They don't want it. They want wealthy people who are paying to get in a car, coming on over there, spending on valet. They don't want people who use public transportation to go over there. And I would make the argument too. That's ultimately based on my experience and what I've seen, that's ultimately been the biggest obstacle to overcome, providing access to people who don't have a car to get around the different neighborhoods. And you can read into it exactly however you want, but you know what I'm saying.
I don't buy it. I don't think it's a priority for them. Listen, we had a 450 million dollar budget gap last time. They supposedly closed it. They weren't talking about this. City Miami wants to let out. Eileen Higgins presented a $450 million bond because they got a leaky police station. They're talking about eminent domaining. They're going to have to come up with the cash for the Fisher Island fuel terminals. I mean, look, gun to their head. What's a bigger priority? The $61 billion that comes in at the port every year, or giving the constituents a means for public transit? And by the way, that $450 million budget gap, they're short $7.6 billion, because not only they got to build it, but there's operational costs that comes with all of this.
Yeah, it is expensive, and we've been focused very much on, again, the billionaires. But if you do see a changing of the tide, then it suddenly might become back in vogue to be able to push and promote sort of the actual constituents. But right now we're focused on those people like Ken Billions, and we're not focused on the local community. We'll see if it changes. You got midterm elections coming up, and there is some desire, I would say, by some people based on Eileen Higgins, La Gringa, a Democrat, getting elected as the mayor of the city of Miami. The mayor going up against a Cuban American experienced Republican. I'm just saying, when the pitchforks and torches come, they might be shifting away from arenas, and they might be more focused on projects like this. And if they do, a lot of these things have already been approved. They can push forward. It's just a matter of sort of changing priorities. But a lot of it will come down to two: what the hell happens with property taxes?
Right. So there's no money. And I'm not saying the municipalities are a fan of this property tax brouhaha. Apparently, by the way, Ron DeSantis has come out and said that he will not be campaigning for this property tax referendum because, and I quote, "That wasn't my idea. That was their idea. That wasn't my language. That I wanted to do this, and they took it, they bastardized it. And when I say they, I'm talking about the other folks, the other public servants up in Tallahassee. I won't name names. You can look it up. But they came up with the only thing that they could all agree on because it had to pass the House with a 60% vote. And now it's going to referendum, and DeSantis says, nope, no. That's not mine. So why are we even doing this? It's gonna completely gut the budgets, the already very strained budgets of these municipalities. Miami-Dade's not the only one. Fort Lauderdale's come out and said that they're screwed. Hillsborough, Osceola, all the other counties around the state get their money from property taxes. So,
well,
priority or not priority.
But just to add to that, today on WLRN, they had a statewide program. They were talking about property taxes. And Daniel, I didn't know this, but Jackson Hospital as well as Broward,
It's a public
General,
hospital.
but property tax money is portions are funding those two hospitals.
Yes.
So suddenly so it's not just the regular fix the potholes and pay the teachers. We're actually talking about the hospitals, and these hospitals are required. Anybody who walks in, they have to service them, whether you can pay for it, you can afford it, or you don't have insurance, you do have insurance, stuff like that. So just imagine where this is going if you suddenly cut off that money. And I don't know how people would think, but I think it's good policy to keep the hospitals going. Last thing you want is a situation where somebody's got something contagious, they can't get any kind of care, and they're out there kind of spreading. So a lot of ramifications and repercussions could be coming down the pike based on this. But Governor DeSantis says it's not his idea.
When I was pulling some of the stats on the budget and all this stuff, it got me thinking though, Peter. The transit station neighborhood development and all of these density rules, so much of them are written around fixed rail. So where are the developers in this? Because guys, every time the city or the county builds another train station, guess what? Density, you can build around these train stations. So why aren't the developers standing on their soapboxes, going at nobody's coming out and saying that this is a priority? If the city and the county, and the cities and the county, because it's a Miami-Dade County initiative, if the county does this allows developers to build more stuff.
A lot more stuff.
Look at this map, folks. Look at this map. The dotted lines are the proposed stops, right? So we got 1, 2, 3, dozens of extra stops for fixed rail. And maybe that's why they're talking about building out the commercial airport over there at Miami Executive Airport, because if they got all these stops going out west into Kendallandia, then they can build more density, and it wouldn't have to even be a live local thing. We're going to talk about live local in a few minutes. It would just be regular old zoning.
I got a notice on Facebook today. 10
You're
years
still
ago,
on the
I wrote a
Facebook?
column. Yeah, I'm still on the Facebook. I got a notice on Facebook. I went to post something. I got a notice from Facebook. 10 years ago, I was writing a column. I wrote a column for the Miami Herald talking about how Brightline and Tri-Rail, how the Tri-Rail is going to be coming in downtown Miami. What did it take them? It took them another 8 years or something, 7 years to actually get it in place. So I guess the moral of the story is everything is measured here in decades in terms of public transportation. But if we need a pop-up detention center located in the middle of the Everglades, we can slap that thing together. Let me tell you what, 15, 20 days max.
Dude, what about the soccer stadium?
What about
They built the thing in half an hour. They built that. I don't fly that often, but they built it in between like 2 trips of mine. Anyway,
but what did they do? What did they do with the remediated dirt from the toxic dirt from?
They put it at Home Depot, and now it's sitting in my herb garden. That's why my tomatoes can't grow. Miami-Dade's public transit priorities. I am a pound the table sell, I don't think it's a priority at all.
I have to concur. I agree with you, Daniel. I think you're dead on with this one. Unfortunately, because I want it, Mayor Cava, I want it.
Live Local 4.0, a grift, or is it gift? A grift that keeps on giving. Well, folks, we are now in the 4th year of Live Local. The Live Local Act was passed a few years back in 2022, 2023, the 2022 legislative session, and it allows developers statewide to go to municipalities and say, hey, you don't know what the heck you're talking about? I want to build workforce housing, which means our tenants can only make up to a certain amount. That's up to 120% of the area median income. And if I do this, you, commissioners, councilmen, local administrators, can't say a damn thing about it. I'm going to get to build whatever I want by right of the state. Now, for obvious reasons, municipalities do not like this. One is because it also comes with a tax abatement. And as we just mentioned, taxes are what make the world go round. Property taxes, because we don't have income taxes here in the state of Florida. So if you remove the property taxes from the equation, then the local municipalities can't get funded. And we're not even talking about the property tax thing that's going on the referendum, on the ballot in November. This is just run-of-the-mill developer math. So developer, 40%, they can say 40% of their developments for workforce housing. So we'll make the math easy. 100 units, I'm going to make 40 of them workforce and the other 60 of them market rate. And then I can build higher, bigger, denser, and badder. Now, what's interesting in this most recent iteration of this law, and I'm not a lawyer, Peter's not a lawyer, unless you got your JD last time. I know we had a week off. It's not a weekend course, right? No?
No.
Okay.
No.
And one of our lawyers were watching. They can fact check me on this or give me a call and tell me I'm an idiot. But my understanding of this is that there's 2 words there: sovereign immunity, right? And if a developer or an aggrieved persons, right? That's the language they use. It aggrieved persons tries to go and build a live local development. 2 things can happen now. One, the municipality can tell them to eat rocks, and then the developer goes and litigates against them, and they can say, hey, you guys impeded us from doing this thing. Then the state will say, okay, well, you can obviously do this thing because of the local, and we're gonna tell them to pay your attorney's fees, and that's capped at $250K. That was put in previous years of Live Local. But this one right now says that if a city or a municipality impedes on an affordable housing project, right? If they treat an affordable housing project differently than they would treat a market rate project, then a aggrieved persons, which in this case would probably be a developer, can go after them for punitive damages, which from what I understand can be unlimited. It could be way more. It says, hey, why don't you pay my carry for the thing? I bought this. Why don't you pay my taxes for this? Why don't you pay my attorneys? Why don't you pay everything? And this is coming off the heels of just a few weeks ago, the city of Miami directed the city attorney to look for ways. This is in the public record. They said this in a commission meeting. Hey, attorney, highest paid employee in the city, by the way. We want you to find out ways to beat Live Local. Good luck, sir. It's not going to happen. I'm off my soapbox.
Wow. No. I mean, a lot to sort of take a look at there. I mean, Daniel, who knows? Maybe this is a cottage industry. Maybe everybody ought to file Live Local, have it rejected, and then turn around and sue, and ultimately they never go to trial. They're going to settle
No, this
anyways.
is just to dissuade cities from doing what they want to do. It's what we've always talked about with local. It's not, it has no, I mean, maybe it's to live local, but it's not for the local administrators. What they're trying to do is take that power and fly it up on one of those American Eagle regional jets straight to Tallahassee.
But Getty Images, right? You ever heard of Getty Images?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's kind of like TMZ. They pay for photographs, and then they turn around and they sell them. And if you run one of the Getty Images, they're going to fine you. They are going to sue you. They're going to try to take cash from you. Why don't property owners simply just file a live local application, have it be rejected, and then turn around and sue? That to me sounds like a cottage industry, just like you have attorneys that work with people go in there and they test the ADA, American with Disabilities Act, on
Oh,
certain
that's such a
restaurants.
scab.
Are the doors wide enough? Is this right? Is that right? And I'm not making an opinion was is it right, is it wrong, but there's people who specialize in this. Why wouldn't that be a cottage industry? You find anybody who's within a live local, and you just you pay for the application fee to get the right. You don't have to necessarily do it. And then if they reject you, why can't you just bang them? Because now you got punitive damages involved.
Bang them.
This could be a
Oh,
yeah,
bang them.
this could be a cottage industry.
Like the insurance litigators.
Yeah, same thing. Or like using Getty, or like maybe you got a website. You don't
No,
have the proper disclosure.
so
You don't
my
have.
my understanding is that they have to treat the affordable housing differently than that. That's the big crux of it. So they can't.
Okay,
They
okay.
they they have it's presented to them, and it's, hey, I want to build this live local, and they'll have to. The heavy lift comes from the developer, who will have to prove in court that their project is getting treated differently than a regular market rate project would be getting treated.
But if one project is rejected and you happen to be the namer of that one project who's rejected, why wouldn't you roll the dice? Turn around, file an application, try to go forward as well. I don't know. I could see some real repercussions personally coming of this. At the end of the day, the cities want the power to make the decisions they make. Part of it might have to do with being able to raise campaign contributions, donations for their accounts. Tallahassee wants to wrestle away control. Because the big dogs, the Lennars of the world, they're probably sick of going to each municipality and having to duke it out. They'd rather just be able to, donate some money to somebody up in Tallahassee, have them sign off on it, and just bypass and blow through all of this. And that, I think, is really what we're seeing. We're seeing the removal of local power. They're trying to empower the people up in Tallahassee, and keep the people who are basically down here in South Florida bending the knee to Tallahassee. I don't necessarily like it. I don't. Live local is interesting because local politicians can kind of be a pain. They can go one way, another way. There's been all kinds of stories over the years about local politicians who've gotten indicted. Some of them have pled guilty to a whole variety of different topics. So we are not necessarily a bastion of moral turpitude, but it's a push pull. I'm sure they'll eventually find what the middle ground is. But I see a bunch of indirects coming of this, including people starting to file live local acts just to sue the city, just like you have Getty Images and you have other people talking about copyright all the time, and they threaten lawsuits, or the attorneys who sue you if your website does not have the proper alternative text, if you will. If anybody's been aware of that, a lot of people in the real estate industry have gotten sued because their websites weren't necessarily up to par, and some of these attorneys just that's their gig.
So Doral, this is interesting. I didn't know this, but now that I'm looking at it, Doral back in 2025, and I guess this is a way to get around it, but to the detriment of any individual municipality. They over a 630 unit project called Oasis at Doral, they wanted more density, right? They wanted to build it higher. Doral imposed a 6-month development moratorium. That means everybody. In this case, guys, they treated the affordable housing just like they would have treated market, because they put a moratorium over everybody, and that's what a municipality would have to do. That's the nuclear football here. You can't just stop all development because, well, you took the money from the developers to get elected, guys.
Yeah, but what I will tell you though is I testified in a case up in Hollywood, Florida. They didn't want a developer to go forward with a project, so they put in place a moratorium as well. And that developer sued and won because basically he missed the market cycle because of them, and he got a nice paycheck for that. So while Doral might be sort of playing this game, there are ways eventually, if you're willing to go through the rigmarole of kind of going through the process, you can't come out on the other side. It's a little bit challenging, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. So, at the end of the day, the government's got a lot of power. They're going to do whatever the hell they want. But if you are patient and you can battle through it, you might come out on the other side like this particular developer did. But it's a challenge. But Daniel, let me tell you what the elixir is that solves all this.
Tell
A
me.
good recession. A recession will change everybody's opinions about everything. Fort Lauderdale never loved development. Boca Raton hated it. Then they got hit with the Great Recession, and then they couldn't come up with enough tax revenue. And all of a sudden they said, come on, come on, come on. The problem is we haven't been stress tested. I keep saying it. Once you get stress tested, the dynamics, the thought process of all of these municipalities is suddenly we actually need development. We're willing to open it up. We want to do this with that, and so are developers because they have to figure out a way to kind of build to what the market is. So we need a good recession. And by the way, I am a buy side type of guy.
Live Local 4.0, a grift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I have to be a buy on that.
I'm a hold. I gotta see how this plays out because it changes so quickly. And Peter, how long does it take to put up a building? 5 years, 6 years? So you buy the land, you figure out how to entitle it. I'm sure they're grandfathering folks in as this piece of legislation changes over the years. But
But
like, are we gonna have Live Local 6.12? Is it gonna be like the iPhone 30 and Live Local 35?
well, we just came out with something. I think we've entered a new era, and you didn't ask this question, but I'm going to answer it anyways. I think we've entered a new era. So we just recognized
Wait,
5 year
what's the
anniversary of
question?
So you're saying, are we going to have Live Local
Oh,
16.0 and stuff like that? So I think what's happening is I think we're going to go in a different direction with a lot of this development. Just like I said, David Martin I think is looking over his shoulder rather than looking ahead. I think we're in the process of changing how we build, where we build, what kind of product we build. So this whole Live Local thing, it might not necessarily be the nuclear option that it is right now. As the market starts to evolve, it changes. And for what it's worth, we're sort of calling this period now after surf. We're calling it after Surfside, a 5 year anniversary of Surfside, because everything's pretty much been put in place. They're not messing with the condo law anymore like they were right after Surfside. And I think all the buildings coming forward, we're calling them the SIRS generation, structural integrity reserve study buildings. So anything coming from this point forward is basically going to be all compliant. Just like right after Andrew hit, there was that period, Hurricane Andrew, 1992. There was that period of having to get it all, recalibrated, and then all of a sudden, you had the new, you had 5G versus 4G. So I think we're entering a new era, and so I just don't know if Live Local is going to carry the same type of juice based on where I think we're going in terms of these developments, how they're developing, more importantly, who they're developing for. I think there is a bit of a shift that's in the process of occurring. Personally, that I'm going on a limb, but that's where I think it's going. So Live Local, might not necessarily carry the same juice going forward.
you're a buy. I'm a hold. That's the show, folks. We went a little bit over time, but it's just because we missed you so much last week. And I'm not just talking to the crowd. I'm looking right into the camera and I'm looking at you, Pete. Can we go to Flanagan's next week? I miss you. I haven't seen Peter in the flesh in like 3 weeks. But guys, that's our show. We're going to have big episode 60. That's almost as old as Peter next week. I'm kidding. Peter turned 45. In any event,
45.
we'll be here live at 4 p.m. Eastern on all your favorite socials, YouTube, Substack. We're on TikTok today, although I think the audio crapped out halfway through. Sorry, folks. It's summer. We're building. Instagram, the whole shebang. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next week.